It's drilled to left field. Is it high enough? See ya! A walk-off grand slam, and the Yankees win.
And he drives one to right field over toward the line. Long run for Laureano, and he runs it, and the Mets win the ball game.
All right, episode 57 of the Boroughs. Kevin Buck, Michael Merlo coming to you every week. BTO Media talking Yankees, Mets. This one is going to be a fun episode, but not because of the Yankees and Mets at all. We have, obviously, Yankees and Mets have lost their last 7 combined games. Mets got swept this weekend against Tampa. Yankees swept against Boston and Fenway, and then lost last night 1-0 in extras. So it's been an awful week for the Yankees. We'll start with them, but we'll also have, later on in the show, Rafael Devers, who'd you rather? I have a list of 12 guys. Mike will tell us if he'd rather have Devers or the other player. And then we are going to do all-star ballots at the end of the show, so you can stick around for that. And we also did Devers' immediate trade reaction on Sunday night. So if you missed it, we had Jack Lydon, big Red Sox fan, join us to discuss it. If you missed it, go check it out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. All right, Devers later, Yankees now. And Mike, this is as bad as it gets, these last 4 games for the Yankees. They lose 2-1, 4-3, and their last 2 games, they've gone 20 innings without giving up a run, and they're 0-2. They lost 2-0. Or they've gone 20 innings giving up 3 runs, and they haven't scored. They lost 2-0 in Boston. They lost 1-0 last night against the Angels. I don't even know where to start.
Well, it's not what you want. How about that?
That's fair.
As Joe Girardi likes to say, it's not what you want. Watching that game last night was tough. I'm not going to lie. Soriano, who I never really had ever heard of, throwing 7 scoreless last night, or 8 scoreless, whatever it was, and then getting completely shut down by the bullpen. They had chances in the 9th. They obviously had the chances in the 10th. There were times where you had guys in scoring position and you couldn't bring them home. So it's a frustrating loss, and I just kind of feel like they are in a funk right now. I don't think this is anything more than that. More than a 4 or 5 game funk. I don't know if you disagree with that.
No, I agree. I think I can't sit here. Sometimes I almost feel like I'm a fair weather fan because I'm so diehard in the big spots, especially with my other teams. But 162 games of the season, at this point on June 17th, I can't just fully panic and shut down. They still have the division lead. I know it's getting closer than you'd like it to be, but they still have it. I cannot just go crazy and get shut down about this. They have struggled. The bats have struggled. And the obvious flaws have been you're seeing Ben Rice come back down to earth, almost to the core of the earth, past the surface. He's been awful. Trent Grisham's come back down. Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, they still don't give you the consistent production you're looking for. I don't think Dominguez and Volpe have been very good at all. Wells has given you productive numbers, but still not great. And then when you have Judge now getting completely, you see it with Ron Washington last night. Anytime that Judge had a chance to do anything, he got walked. Yep. He barely saw any pitches last night over 5 at-bats. So this is the reality they're in right now. Goldschmidt and Bellinger have been average at best through these stretches the last 2-3 weeks. Jazz Chisholm has been awful. Bright spot, Stanton looked good last night. But other than that, offensively, there's nothing for the Yankees right now.
A lot of guys have come back down to earth. Goldschmidt, you mentioned. Bellinger. I mean, Bellinger, I don't really feel like he came back down to earth. He got hot after starting off very poorly. I still feel like there's a lot left for Bellinger there. But yeah, you mentioned Dominguez, who has really dropped off. You mentioned Volpe, who's been inconsistent. Wells had a very nice stretch last week. Now, with the rest of the team, the last 4 games, he's gone cold. They haven't led since Thursday in Kansas City. Like, that's incredible.
And they've played every day. It's not even like they've had a day off in there. They've played every day, and they've been in games. Usually a team doesn't lead in 5 days. You'd sit here and say, oh, they must be getting blown out. No, they're losing games by a run. And the pitching's been great.
Yeah, and the only really bad start was on Saturday, and it wasn't really, I don't even think you could say it was like a bad start from Rodon. Like, he wasn't great.
Yeah, gave up 4 runs. But no, they haven't been good. And last night, the most frustrating part of last night's game is throughout the entire game, because Clark Schmidt gave you a career start, that you thought, all right, we'll scratch one run across in the next 3 or 4 innings. After the 6th inning, this is how I felt. And I was like, we'll win the game 1-0 because the Angels can't touch Schmidt. I trusted the Yankees to get 1 run across. They don't even. And I sent you a stat today. They played 9 extra innings with a ghost runner on second. They've only scored a run once.
That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible.
They are, when they get to extra innings, I'm at a point where I accept that they've lost the game, because since the ghost runner, they've been the worst team. It feels, I don't know the exact stats, but I know that they're nearly 15 games under 500 in extra innings since the ghost runner came in. And that is arguably the worst team, or as bad as anybody. I can't imagine many teams are worse than the Yankees with the ghost runner. I've just accepted the loss when they get to extra innings, whether they're home or away.
And when you're away, you need to score, like, obviously at the minimum 1, but really 2. Like, if you're on the road, you need to score 2 runs there. If you're not scoring 2 runs, you're going to lose. You're most likely going to lose that game. But they don't even give themselves a chance when they don't score 1. And last night, no, they did. The Angels did score 1 in the 10th, right? Yes.
In the 11th. Nobody scored in the 10th.
Right. Okay. So I was
top 11. Yep.
My initial thought was right. They give you a chance to win this game in the 10th. Like, oh my God, so frustrating. That's frustrating as all
and
hell.
What bothers me the most, I honestly think it's easier said than done that teams can and can't bunt. And I think it's Mila. Come here, my little cousin's walking in right now. Come here, Mila. You want to say hi? But I think it bothers me that they can't bunt, because LeMahieu comes up to bunt last inning and couldn't even bunt. Come here.
What's up, Mila?
Say hi.
Hi.
LeMahieu comes up. He tried to lay one down. He couldn't. And then not getting that run across is the most frustrating thing in the world. It really is. We've talked about it. When you can't get a guy in with runners in scoring position, there's not many more frustrating things in sports as a fan.
No, and it's our
not
teams,
being able to score at a consistent basis with runners in scoring position.
Our teams seem to be prone to not scoring with runners in scoring position. I mean, the Mets for the first 6 weeks couldn't knock a run in.
They still can't.
They still can't, but at least it's been a little better. I mean, this Rays series, we'll get into it. That was actually a disaster. But the Yankees can't hit with runners in scoring position, because now the only guy that really can, because Goldschmidt, even though his numbers are still great with runners in scoring position, and by the way, he got robbed bad. Did you see in the 10th inning last night the single that Goldschmidt should have had that Nito grabbed at shortstop? Was that
yes.
The 10th? That was one of the best catches I've ever seen by a shortstop.
Yeah, it was a nice play.
But either way, you have the only 2 guys with really good numbers with runners in scoring position are Judge and Goldschmidt. Judge doesn't even get a chance to hit with runners in scoring position anymore. And Goldschmidt is just coming way down to earth in all scenarios.
It's funny. I was watching the game, and when Bellinger hit the fly ball to the warning track, I right as the pitch is coming in, I said to my friend, I go, they haven't led since Thursday. And then Bellinger hits it. And I go, well, until now. And I don't know how that did not get out. I thought that was 6 rows deep. Walk-off 3-run shot.
Was one of those nights. First of all, why has June been so cold? That's just, in New York, just been terrible weather in June.
Terrible.
It has not felt like summer. But that was one of those nights last night where there were 4 or 5 balls off the bat where I was like, that's definitely out. And it ends up being caught at the track, and it's just dead ball weather last night.
Well, if it's next week, then and it's going to be 80 degrees over this weekend, 85 degrees. Maybe that gets out. The Bellinger's definitely gets out. Yeah, I don't know about the other ones, but the Mets hit so many balls to the warning track this weekend too, where I'm like, can one of these please go out? Like one?
Well, there was that Soto fly out or double. I don't even know what it was.
It ended up being a fly out.
It was a fly out, right? What was that, on Friday?
That was Friday night, down 2.
And everyone was saying the balls are dead this year. And then Andrew McCutchen, did you see his tweet?
Yes.
Where he basically said, I spoke to a representative that they are using, I don't know what his exact wording was, but basically balls that are more dead than usual. And that was something that I had been, Will Thompson?
Yes.
Will Thompson in the beginning of the season on Twitter, if you don't follow him, he does a lot of scouting stuff. Will Thompson said, because people were saying the balls are juiced, especially with that Yankee series. They're like, MLB's juicing the balls this year. And he was showing a bunch of metrics that basically said this spin rate, this rotations per minute, this, XYZ suggests that it's the opposite. These guys are just hitting. That's just what it is right now. Players are hitting on the first weekend of the season.
Yeah.
And that is obviously true because there are a lot of balls this year, Mike, that look like they're getting out and they are not.
Well, what he had said, basically, McCutcheon, was that every ball is hand sewn, so no ball is the same. So there could be some dead balls in the mix, and there's just, regular balls. And maybe I don't think they would be juiced, but a couple of them are going to be dead. And he had asked when he was speaking to the person from Major League Baseball, what can be done to correct this? And they said nothing right now, but they're working hard on getting to the bottom of it. And the reason why the balls are dead is because the seams are higher.
Okay. And I don't know actually how much of a difference the 2019 live balls, juice balls,
they had. They
had to have been because guys like Jeff McNeil and Brett Gardner were
hitting 23 home runs.
And Gardner had 26.
Like, come on.
Gardner had 26 in the twilight of his career. And Gleyber Torres at 39.
I'm sorry. McNeil hit, 23. Sorry, I thought it was 33 for a second. 23 in 133 games. Like, come on.
McNeil's back, too.
Oh, he's great. He's great.
He's back. He looks more like that 2019 guy than the 2022 guy.
I had a discussion with Giuseppe about that. I said, I'd rather him be 2019 110% over 2022.
Yeah, and he looks like that guy more than the 22 guy, which I agree with you on that.
Which is nice, which is a good thing. Ben Rice hitting 229, Kevin.
It's over. It's over with Ben Rice.
Yeah, I think we.
And his on base is 311. Gabe said it perfectly. I get it. He's still unlucky, but we can only go so far with that narrative when the average and the OPS and the on base continue to drop. The hard hit outs just exist, and he hits a lot of these guys that are unlucky have a lot of ground outs. They're rolling over on a lot of balls, and then how long could I sit here and say Ben Rice is a great hitter? He's just unlucky. He's got a 500 OPS over the last month.
That was the same thing with Soto. In a lot of the cases, he was hitting the ball on the ground. He was just pounding the ball into the ground at 100 miles per hour. But, there were a lot of balls that were line drives that were hit right at people, and he corrected it. And, his numbers are starting to look more normal now. When you're going in the opposite direction for a very long time, it makes you think, okay, he might be unlucky, but is he really a great hitter? And right now, I don't know, because he is going in the wrong direction for 2 months now.
Soto's a good example of unlucky, too, in that conversation, because it works with him, because there's a body of work that shows us he is a great hitter. Right. So when his numbers are down, we can use it as an excuse. But Rice, the body of work is his numbers are bad, and he's an unlucky hitter, but that doesn't make him a great hitter. We can't sit here and say, like, oh, it's going to break.
You don't know if it's going to turn. Like,
exactly.
There's no guarantee it's going to turn.
If it stayed like this, nobody's surprised. If he ends up being an 820, 830 OPS guy for the next 5-6 years, I also don't think we're very surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd be a little surprised. The start was great, and I remember asking you and a couple of other people that were Yankee fans, like, what is the future? Like, what do you actually see with this guy? And I remember, like, realistic opinions, 850, 900 OPS, guy that is a very productive offensive player. Maybe he's not playing every single day, but he's still very productive. And I don't know. I think that's, if you got that 850, 900 OPS guy, you'd be jumping for joy.
Yeah,
I jump for joy.
I agree with that.
And it's also very interesting how it's funny how these things work themselves out. It's the same thing with the Mets. We had said it all year. Oh, the Mets are going to have too many pitchers. No, somebody's going to get hurt. Two guys are going to get hurt. And it's kind of the same situation with, Stanton coming back with the Yankees and Goldschmidt playing well and Rice playing well, how things just started to work itself out that, maybe Rice will get some time at catcher, but Rice really also isn't hitting that much. And, it's not a guarantee that Rice has to be in the lineup every single day. You still play him, obviously, but there are going to be days where he could have a day and he plays 3 or 4 days a week and Stanton plays the others. And maybe you get Goldschmidt a day off here. It's very interesting how it all worked itself out as Stanton comes back.
Yep. And that what I'm worried about now, I think that it's worked out to a point where even Trent Grisham should not be playing every day. He should be playing at most every third day.
Right.
And so far, the series played 62 of the team's 72 games. And I would just start giving Dominguez that spot because Dominguez has not been good. And his numbers are still inflated from that 3 home run game. But I think that you just have to roll him over Grisham this point because you should be getting to that spot in the season where you're saying Stanton's going to play every day. Rice is going to be your extra guy. Every couple of games against the right-handed pitcher, you give Goldschmidt the day off. You give Rice the nod. Or you give Rice the big pinch hits. You give Grisham big pinch hit spots. But I don't want it to be every day or two Boone is just this is what's going to happen. Boone is just doing this abstract lineup so that he continues to try and get guys in within every 48 hours. And I don't like that because I think Goldschmidt, Stanton are 2 of your 4 best hitters no matter how you slice it up. Even when Goldschmidt's struggling, he is a better hitter than Rice, who's struggling way worse right now. You have to start playing these guys. Judge, Goldschmidt, Stanton, Bellinger are my 4, have to be in the lineup every day, guys. That means Grisham or Dominguez have to get committed elsewhere, whether that's the bench, whether you want to trade them early. This is the, lineup that I need to see. Is those 4 guys play every day? One of the other guys that are questioned right now have to get moved or have to be on the bench.
Well, I think what Boone is going to also have to try and figure out is, and he hasn't been good at this, and this is actually an interesting conversation when we talk about the Red Sox situation, but, some of these younger guys that haven't had consistent at-bats in their career, like Dominguez, like Ben Rice, it's important for those guys to not only get hot, but go through slumps and sort of try and figure things out. And I don't know if that's one of the reasons why you want Dominguez in there consistently, but, it's not that you have to see what you have because he's still going to get run into next year anyway. But for this current season, like if there is anything there that could help you and get you any boost in the postseason, then you need to figure that out before you get there.
Absolutely.
So playing that younger guy with the more upside when you know what you're getting out of Grisham, which is really good defense and, at times good at-bats and production, you have to see what you have in Dominguez because it's just more upside.
And you have to also, I hate to do this because I hate having these conversations in June. You have to acknowledge the free agent class and the guys that are going to be available. Obviously, Kyle Tucker is a major headliner, but you have to acknowledge this and say, one of Dominguez or Grisham's not going to be on the team next year, obviously. They're not going to re-sign him, no matter what he does the rest of the season. But I want to know right now if I can trust Jason Dominguez, and I don't think this is how the Yankees operate. I don't think this is how many teams operate, so it's not really a dig at the Yankees. But I'd be looking at it and saying, Judge is going to be 34. I need to put the best team on the field the next 3 years at all costs. And they're not going to do that, I think, and you're going to be stuck with Dominguez potentially. If you didn't learn what he was this year, you're going to be stuck learning again next year, and it becomes another hole in the lineup. And Mike, you look through the lineups that they put out, you have any of the 3 or 4, your 5 through 9 really is some sort of a combination of Volpe, Dominguez, Wells, Peraza. Reyes just got DFA'd, but it's been Reyes. It was Cabrera when he was healthy. It's LeMahieu. That's not a good bottom half of your order. Those are not very good hitters. And when you lose the Soto MVP production from last year, you didn't already have 5 through 9 production last season. You're getting a little more this year with Volpe and Wells. But when you lose what you had in the top of the order in Soto, and you're not getting it from Bellinger, Goldschmidt, and hopefully Stanton gives you some of it, but obviously he hasn't this year, that bottom of the order is a huge problem. And I need to figure out if Dominguez is any good before next season. And like you said, before the postseason.
And these are my reasons why, and I took a lot of heat for saying that the Yankees lineup was better last season with Soto than it was this year. And, when everybody got off to that hot start when Goldschmidt looked great and Bellinger looked great and the bottom of the lineup was cooking, it was hard to defend, but I stood strong, and these are the reasons why. And guys are playing more to the back of their baseball card. And this is actually a very interesting comment here from Brendan, and it's very true. And you could say the same thing about a lot of teams, but it's been a consistent issue with the Yankees of getting developing their young talent that comes up from the minor leagues. And Pages struggled last year. And he was kind of forced into the lineup at times, especially in the postseason. And he was good, especially in that championship series. And now this season, I mean, he is just an unbelievable player, borderline all-star in the National League.
Yeah, and he even started a little shaky this year too, and
Yeah.
he just keeps rolling, and he's been great. But I think with the Yankees last year, what bothered me the most, I've said it on this pod before, earlier in the season in April when Grisham was playing great, but what bothered me the most is they're so committed to their guys. And when you got to a point at the end of August, middle of September, when Alex Verdugo was unplayable, you had Dominguez and you had Trent Grisham, and neither of them got an honest run at playing to see if you can get a bigger contributor. Verdugo was terrible in the postseason. He never gave you anything after the All-Star break, and the fans were able to see that that's what was occurring. When I was at the Super Bowl this year, to take a football parallel,
Let's say
I was talking with Thomas Dimitrov, former general manager of the Falcons, and I asked him what makes Howie Roseman so special. What's the trait that gets him separated from the rest of the league? And he said the best thing that Howie does is if he drafts a guy or he signs a guy, Bryce Huff is the most recent example, and they don't work out, he doesn't waste time. He always tries to find the best player at every moment in time. And I don't think Brian Cashman does that. I don't think a lot of baseball general managers do that and owners do that. But they should be looking to upgrade with their young players and looking to fill spots with their young players the last few years, and they haven't done that. Alex Verdugo should not have played last season. Jason Dominguez should have gotten an honest run in September, as should Trent Grisham, and neither of them did.
It's so much different, though, when you're talking about non-guaranteed contracts and guaranteed contracts. And there are some mistakes that GMs make that are just so big. And maybe it's a 1-year contract for a ton of money, or it's a long-term contract, and you almost feel forced. You almost feel like you have to play that guy, and it makes you more stubborn as a general manager in baseball, as an executive in baseball. Where in football, listen, he signs Bryce up to a 4-year contract, and he's able to move off of him after the first year of doing absolutely nothing and get a pick back. It's a loss for them, but he was able to cut his loss. And you're right that the teams don't do that, but it's so much more difficult in a sport like baseball.
But when you do have one of the few owners that spend, even though Yankee fans can tell me Steinbrenner's cheap now, come on, they spend $300 million on the team every year. I don't think it's fair to the fan base or to yourselves when you put this many resources into the team to commit to Josh Donaldson the whole way, to commit to Isaiah Kiner-Falefa instead of getting Anthony Volpe up earlier or giving Peraza the run there in the second half of a lost season. Gleyber Torres at shortstop was a failed experiment that went on too long, even though it was just a full season, one single full season. So at what point do the Yankees just decide, and it's never going to happen with this current regime of Steinbrenner, Cashman, Boone, because it's just not their MO, at what point do they decide to just cut their losses with guys that aren't working at the pro level and let young players develop? And that's just a problem that they've had the last few years. Because it's even happened pitching-wise, too, which is why I'm excited that they're giving Will Warren the extended run that he's getting.
And the same thing with LeMahieu last year when they had considered cutting him. And that was more of a Judge thing. The Judge didn't want him to go. But, we had talked about it last year. It was almost like the Robbie Cano situation with the Mets, where Dom Smith had a good weekend in 2022. And Cohen decided, the best move for the team is to cut my losses with Cano. And I'm going to cut my losses with Cano and keep the younger guy here. And it would have been a very easy decision for them to keep Cano and get rid of Smith. And they didn't do that. So those are the kind of moves I think you see from a guy like Howie Roseman.
Yeah, absolutely. And now I'm getting to the point with Volpe, Wells, these younger guys, Dominguez, when and I'm not saying the Yankees should have done it already or that they have to do it now, but when is their time up? Because they invested so much in the potential of these guys by not pursuing other players, by pursuing other positions. And now I think that 3 of your 4 worst hitters or most inconsistent hitters are the young guys that you put so much faith in. Rice was not one of those guys, but he just happened to have a really nice 6 weeks to start this year. I'm curious to see how Cashman operates with these guys going forward, because Volpe, I don't think is a long-term one-team franchise shortstop. I don't think anybody thinks that, whether you think he's good or not.
That's a tough question. That's a really tough question. I don't know. I still think, and I would understand giving him a few more years here. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You need to know the answer on Volpe, like confirmed. Whether it takes a while or not, you need to know that answer.
Like, Dominguez finishes the year with a 7. Right now he's at 709 OPS. He finishes the year with like a 720. So he's kind of the same, little bit better the rest of the season that he's been. Kyle Tucker's sitting there. Bellinger, there's a decision to be made with Bellinger.
Well, he's going to opt in.
He's got his option. He's going to opt in. But then there's a mental commitment to whether or not this is long-term or not, I think, for the Yankees. So at what point does Dominguez become one of those guys? At what point does Wells become a guy that you actually bring in serious competition for at the catcher position?
I wouldn't go there with Wells. I think Wells is set.
I'd agree.
I think you have your answer at Wells.
Even with the numbers that I don't want, even with the numbers that I'm very upset about the on-base percentage. I'm very upset with the at-bats he gives you where he's swinging at fastballs at his eyes as he did last night.
Yep.
In the 9th inning or the 10th, whatever it was. But Wells, I think, is set. Now, what do we do with the rest of the guys? Volpe is not. I don't have an answer on Volpe. I don't have an answer on Dominguez. Not nearly an answer on Dominguez. It's very intriguing, the Yankees' next couple of years. And I'm not saying like they should be cutting losses with these guys. I'm just saying I'm curious to see when it actually occurs, if it does, or if they just get to play out the contracts.
I think they'll probably play out the contracts.
I think Volpe's definitely going to play out the contract.
Volpe will play out his contract. They're not going to extend him or anything.
Dominguez still has at least 4 years of service time. So if he stinks for another year or two.
I wonder what they could get for Dominguez.
Well, could Dominguez get you a long way in a Chris Sale type of trade? Just because he's one of the guys that might be available at the deadline. Not that they need another lefty pitcher, but do you think Dominguez gets you a long way?
Top 3 there.
That'd be sick top 3.
Nice. The 3 lefties. The 3 lefties coming at you.
Because, if you aren't giving up Lombard and you're saying we're comfortable giving up Spencer Jones, he's the organization's number 2 prospect. I don't know if anyone's too high on him at the moment, though. But if you're comfortable giving him up and Dominguez is the sweetener that moves you further in a deal, he's probably worth giving up.
The problem is they're not going
this season alone because Grisham's better.
They're not going after Tucker next year, though.
I don't think so either.
So that's what's tough about this. That's what's tough about this conversation. Because you have to assume that Bellinger is going to be back for, $27 million next year. You obviously have Judge. You're still paying Stanton. You have the 3 pitchers. I find it very hard to believe that they are going to go after Mr. Kyle Tucker.
Heavy doubt that they'd go after Tucker. And I know Sale's a rental, but he's got that great option next year. So, you are getting him for a year and a half. And you're trying to win a World Series. Again, I'm all in the Judge window if I'm Brian Cashman.
Right.
All in the Judge window. And that's not much longer. Chris Sale is going to take up potentially a third of the remaining Judge window. If Judge has 5 years left of good baseball, a year and a half of Chris Sale takes up nearly a third of that. It's interesting stuff for the Yankees right now. And I hate to do this big picture like panic conversation because I'm not actually panicked on the 2025 season yet.
I think I think this is just a little bit of a funk. They're going to be fine, but of course, it's frustrating, and you don't want to deal with it.
It's frustrating. We'll see. I think they win tonight. Stanton's back. I can't see him losing 5 straight, especially 2 against the Angels here in a row. I think they win tonight. Get back on track a little bit. It's one of the great things about baseball. You lose 4 straight, but then you win one, and you're still in first place, and everybody feels a lot better. I think they get it tonight. We'll see what happens. Let's go Mets here.
I mean, the Mets really didn't help you guys out this weekend. I mean,
well, no, that was brutal. I'd rather be sitting here saying, "Oh, Mets swept the Rays this weekend." Yeah. Yankees got swept, but I'm not glad the Mets got swept here. But let's
sorry about that, little bro. We know we're supposed to help you out.
No. That's definitely not.
Big bro couldn't do it for you,
That's ridiculous. Mets, worst weekend of the year for the Mets.
That was a brutal weekend.
The worst weekend ever.
I texted you. I was like, sorry, I have to play the Rays 13 times a year. I mean,
know.
Jesus.
But I also picked the Rays to be competitive this year. I picked their over before the season. I think you picked their over too.
I did too.
And
I like them.
We both liked them. I picked them as the first team out of the 6th seed. I picked them to be the 7 in the AL. Really close.
I had them in.
And you might have. And so now you're watching the Rays, and we're not super surprised that they're competitive because they're always due every couple of years for a pretty good season.
No, and I was a little surprised they were playing so poorly when they were playing poorly. They don't hit the ball particularly hard. They have a lot of dink and dunks, and they play great defense, and they don't really make too many mistakes. They don't walk a ton of guys, although they had a couple of starts here where, it was out of the norm, and Bradley and Boz walked a ton of guys, but the Mets couldn't do anything with it, and they play good defense, and they get the big hit when they need it, and that was all weekend long. The Mets would take a lead, and they would come storming right back, and they would just crush you. Friday and Saturday, Mets go up 5-1. They respond with 6, go up 7-5. Saturday, the Mets go up 2-1. They respond with 5. They go up, a ton, and then the game was over.
Yeah, Rays are pesky. Losing that at Citi Field's awful. It's horrible. In City, it's Pride Month too. Big Pride Month weekend for the Mets. They had a packed house all weekend long, and it didn't work out. Didn't go their way. But I'm not, again, this is not push the panic button on the Mets at all. Rays are good. Rays are tough. And that's just a tough weekend, man. Yankees and Mets tough weekends happen to just fall on the same dates.
Brutal weekends. And again, it's an AL team. It's a team you don't see much. Now, big week. Big 10 days for the Mets here, which I'm a little nervous for. But I am a little worried about the pitching, though, Kevin. I am.
That's what I wanted to get into.
For the first time, and I posted a video this morning talking about it, and I'm a little worried about it.
I'm at the point right now where if we want to do overreactions and extremes, if there's any that I'm going to do today, it's the Canning McGill thing is over. These guys are not made for postseason baseball, especially in the National League, where the 6th best team just got Rafael Devers.
I still kind of believe in Canning, to be a 4 or 5 guy, but
but in the playoffs, are you really comfortable in the playoffs?
No, he should.
Peterson, Holmes, Canning. You're going to get Manaea back, and he figures into
Senga, Peterson, Holmes, Manaea. I'm very comfortable with.
I think they need to add one more arm.
Comfortable with that, but whose spot is he taking?
That's what's tough. I mean, McGill naturally is going to get bounced out of this group.
No, I'm saying in a playoff series.
I know. That's what I'm saying. McGill is definitely out.
Yeah, 100%.
And then when you have those 4 guys, if Holmes and Peterson are still doing what they're doing, which I see no reason why they wouldn't be,
right?
Then it would maybe use 5 guys, but one day you're doing a Senga Holmes game. I have no idea, but I do think they need another arm because this is what worries me with the Mets. Let me say it. This is a better way to say it. I'd rather add one more top 3 arm who's a proven starter than not have that guy on September 10th when one of Peterson, Senga, and Holmes are either struggling or injured.
Yeah, listen, I think they need a middle of the rotation guy to sort of get through this season because Montas is getting absolutely lit up in AAA. Like,
yeah, no, Montas, this is not going to.
This is not going to work.
This is not a pitching lab success.
This might not work, and that's fine. Yeah, you hit on Canning and Holmes. All right, fine. I'm okay with taking my loss with Montas, but I think in a playoff rotation of those 4, I feel good, but getting there, and you're right, of course, the risk of injury, maybe you do go and add a mid-rotation guy. I don't know who that is, but a middle-of-the-rotation guy. They also need a couple arms in the pen now, Kevin. I mean, guys have really started to regress. There's been some injury. They're going to need – they already needed a lefty. I think they need another, middle reliever, right-handed pitcher as well. Somebody that you trust getting outs in the 7th inning.
They definitely do. But overall, I like the pen. Just start using Kranick. This is my guy. Just start using Kranick more.
Yeah, Kranick got lit up on Friday.
Bad weekend for Kranick agenda. But they need the extra arm. I don't trust their pitching, man. And I'm just going to flat out say it. This is just like such a casual take, so I hate to do it. I look at them on paper, and I just don't think they stack up in the NL.
Oh, I think that's casual take. I think
I know that's what I'm saying.
Top 3 in that rotation stack up against anybody.
I just don't think when you go against Philly or a healthy LA or San Diego, I even put behind now. But yeah,
their rotation's
Philly,
not great.
Yeah, San Diego's not. But Philly or LA,
Nola sucks and he's hurt.
This is why I'm expressing my casual take. Is when Clay Holmes takes that mound in a pivotal game 2 where the Mets are down 1-0. I'm not feeling great in the NLCS.
Why?
I'm not feeling terrific in the NLCS because he's never started playoff games.
If he finishes the season the way this has gone, 2.87 ERA.
If he finishes the season with a 3 or below, which right now he's definitely looking like he can, I just think in his first ever postseason as a starter, the lineups you're going to face, I could see it going the wrong way. And I know that's such a hater, casual, like non-Mets fan take, and it's annoying, but that's just, I think they need another guy.
Holmes has been great. I trust him in
a
play.
Great.
I trust him at a big spot. I trust him. I trust him at a big spot. I trust Peterson in a big spot.
Well,
right
Peterson, I texted you this last week. At what point does the conversation about David Peterson being one of the best pitchers in all of baseball begin to take place? Because
I think tonight with a big start in Atlanta, I think it starts.
This is now 2 years of Peterson, 2 seasons. It's been almost 1 calendar year. But this has been going on for a while now with Peterson, where he is a sub 2.5 ERA stud pitcher.
Yeah, he deserves the recognition. He deserves it. And it's shocking. We've talked about how shocking it's been since he came back from the hip injury last season. But I have full faith. When he is on the mound, I have full faith that he is going to do the job.
Here's my crazy Mets take that is not going to be agreed upon by many people. I think if I needed 1 game, 1 starter on this team that's healthy right now, so no Minaya, but out of these guys that have been pitching, if I needed 1 starter for 1 Game 7 World Series type of hypothetical, I'm putting Peterson out there over Senga. I absolutely love David Peterson, and that's not even a knock on Kodai Senga, but who do I trust to give me 6-7 innings of really good baseball? It's Peterson over Senga.
Senga has a better chance of completely shutting you down for 6 or 7 innings, but David Peterson at the worst for 6 or 7 innings is going to keep you in the game 3 runs, quality start.
Because you get with Peterson, it's the opposite of what we spoke about with Rice because he's a pitcher, but Peterson has a lot of those stats that he's a lucky pitcher.
Yep.
But now it's 2 years of Peterson being a lucky pitcher with really good numbers. I'm going to err on the side of Peterson's a really good pitcher who maybe generates a lot of hard contact, but batters can't square up the hits.
And it's at people.
It's always at people. He does a great job. Great. I like David Peterson a lot. I think he's one of the best 5 pitchers in the National League right now.
He's been that good. I love him. And I love the point. I love the point of who would you trust in a big game 7 like that. I think he's got to be up there. You have to feel good about him.
Most Mets fans would pick Senga because of what you said. Because when you watch these guys at their best, which we've seen a lot of this season, Senga's the dominant ace-looking guy. Peterson is more of a traditional 2 in just the perception of how he pitches. But I'm taking David Peterson all day. Over a lot of pitchers, too. It's not just Senga. Over a lot of pitchers in the entire league that you maybe think are guys that are bigger names, that have had longer careers. Peterson is in that space now.
How about the Phillies 2 games back right now? 2 games back. Big weekend series in Philadelphia this weekend.
You know, it's great for you that the Braves have had the season that they've had, because imagine you had to deal with both of them within 3 or 4 games.
Yeah, well, Kevin, all they need to get right is 7 out of 10 against the Mets, and that's exactly what they have right now. So, that's all they need. That's all they need. No, we got the 2. We got Peterson tonight. You got Holmes on Thursday. Of course, they have Schwellenbach, Sale, and Strider going.
Yeah,
I mean, of course.
And Acuna's been great.
He's been great. Yep.
He's been himself. He's been his normal 40-70 greatest season of all time self.
Yeah, he's back. Greatest season of all time. Yeah, it's it'll be interesting. You got Schwellenbach versus Blackburn on Wednesday night, which is real nice. And that's perfect.
Blackie.
But Blackie was part of the blow up on Friday.
Yeah.
Awful. What's the list of pitchers you'd rather have than Peterson in the National League?
Let's see.
Wheeler, Sale, Schwellenbach, Yamamoto.
Yeah, I'd rather be Yamamoto.
Wheeler,
Skeens.
Sale, Schwellenbach, Skeens.
Only in the NL, right?
Only in the NL. Logan Webb.
Not Skeens. Webb. Robbie Ray or no? That's a coin flip. Robbie Ray. It's a coin flip. But
I think Mackenzie Gore has earned enough respect right now.
Yeah, how about Freddie Peralta?
No, I'm gonna go Peterson.
Okay. That's probably it in the NL.
6 right now. At Glass now, do you trust him?
If health is not a thing, maybe I take Glass now.
But health is a thing, and the same thing with Snell, who's been hurt. So, yeah, I would go 6 right now.
I'm pulling up just the...
Yamamoto, Sale, Schwellenbach, Skeens, Wheeler, Webb. Those are the only 6 I'd rather have. And Yamamoto is very close. Yamamoto has been pitching like a Cy Young this year, so he has to be on the list. But Yamamoto is very
That's close. But so is Webb, so is Robbie Ray, if you want to go there. So is Freddie Peralta, which we gave nose to. But he's right there. He's 3rd in ERA in the National League among callers.
You know what? I'll take Peterson over Yamamoto this season. Okay. Right now, today. ERA plus is better. ERA is better. I'll take Yamamoto.
And whether you'd take him or not over some of these guys, there are enough questionable yes or no's that suggest Peterson might be the 3rd or 4th best pitcher in the National League.
And like Strider, I don't know what you think of Strider right now.
I'm not going to take him over because once again, if health's a thing, he's coming off the big injury and hasn't been better. Did we say Sale?
Yeah, I said Sale.
Sale, right?
I said Schwellenbach too.
Yeah, Schwellenbach I can get behind.
I love Schwellenbach.
But I don't know if I take him over. If we're not taking Yamamoto over Peterson,
I guess we can't take Schwellenbach either.
Yeah, because healthy King, he crossed my mind just now. Yeah, I'd take King, but not healthy, and it would be really close.
All right, let's take Schwellenbach off the list, and that's only 4 pitchers I'd rather have.
I'm definitely taking Skeens, Webb, Yamamoto, and Wheeler.
I would take King.
And Sale. You take King also.
I would take King. I really like Michael King.
I do too. I love King.
I would take Michael King over him. So that's 5 pitchers I'd rather have. And Mackenzie Gore's an easy yes. Gore is unbelievable.
Okay, and then let me just, so you have 5 guys you'd rather have.
5
so this
guys.
is turning into a surprising David Peterson who'd you rather. Devers up next. But in the AL, just because we're here already, let's see how many pitchers we'd actually take over him. Hunter Brown.
Yes.
Fried.
Yes.
Skubal, obviously.
Yes.
DeGrom.
Yes.
Crochet, yes.
Yes.
Mailey.
Who?
Tyler Mailey.
Oh, Texas? No.
I'm trying to find Rodon, no.
No.
Framber.
I'm usually a Framber guy.
Yeah, that was your Cy Young pick.
That was my Cy Young pick.
I think he's the last name. Oh, and Bubich, but
no.
he's having a good year. But Yanks.
Reagan's no.
Castillo, he's got a 3.3 ERA though. I still want to take him anyways.
I'll take Framber.
Okay, so you'll take Framber even with the 3.1 ERA.
Yeah,
90 innings pitched.
Strikeout numbers are up.
So he's top 20 pitcher in the league easily, maybe top 15.
Maybe top 50, probably top 15. Reagan's is hurt. He also was not having a good year.
No. There's a comment that probably will age well.
Yep. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, so Peterson, top 20, easy.
Lugo, no. I love Lugo, though. Hope they make
I'm not taking Lugo, though.
What is the pitching match? Is it Sale? Blackie tomorrow and Schwellenbach Peterson tonight?
Let me look.
I'm looking right now. Oh, nice. It's Peterson Schwellenbach. Here we go. He got the matchup right
Perfect.
here. We got the tonight decides it. Exactly.
How fitting is that? And then Blackie Sale. That's great.
Yeah, that's unbelievable.
And then Clay Strider.
That's nice. That's a great.
Gosh,
matchup.
Strider's 1-5. I didn't even realize.
That's a nice matchup. So we will decide tonight whether or not I would take Schwellenbach over Peterson. Tonight's tonight.
Yes. Tonight is the night. Anything else on the Mets here, or you want to get into the Devers? Who'd you rather?
I'm good with the Mets. It's a huge week, and when we're back later in the week, we'll be able to really see how it's going and
Mets.
See if I want to jump off a bridge or not.
Mets need this one this week. You might be jumping off the bridge though. Tough
Give me
place to go to.
Give me 6-4 over the next 10, and I'm good with 2 out of 3 against the Phillies. And you split. Maybe I want 7-3. I split it home with the Braves. 2 out of 3 here. 2 out of 3 with the Phils. Split it home. I'm good.
All right. It is time for Raffy Devers. Who'd you rather? After the trade to the Giants, we decided this would be a fitting player to bring back our Who'd You Rather segment that you could have seen on the Sunday recap all season long. So once again, Rafael Devers, who'd you rather? First up, Alex Bregman.
Wow. I'm going to go with Rafi Devers. He's younger. He's a better offensive player. There's a reason why he got $300 million, even though he wasn't on the open market. I'll take Devers.
All right, next up, we're going to stay with third baseman, Manny Machado.
Yeah, I'm going to take Machado. There's more of a track record there. He's a Hall of Fame player. He's still a very, very productive offensive player, even going to be 33 soon. I'll take Machado. Is this is like this season or going
right
forward?
now. Right now.
Okay. Machado, 100% Machado.
All right, next one, special for you. We go to the opposite corner. Pete Alonso.
Wow. Devers has had more productive, better years consistently than what Pete Alonso has done. Although this season for Pete is unbelievable, I have to go with Rafi.
Kyle Tucker. And next up, back to third base, Jose Ramirez.
Not even
Easy.
close.
Easy.
Not even close.
Soto.
Juan Soto. Come on.
Okay, even with the way he's coming back up though.
Yeah, I mean the numbers are almost identical.
No, they're not.
They're close.
That's a little bit of reach.
They're close.
Bryce Harper.
I'll go Bryce. I'm a big Bryce guy.
Wow.
I think he's still a superstar. I'm waiting for the one that I don't know I'm going to answer.
Bobby Witt.
Bobby Witt.
Yep.
MVP type player. Great defensively. Bobby Witt.
Vladdy.
There it is. That's the one I was waiting for. I think I have to go Rafael Devers.
I think you have to.
He's just more consistently a better offensive player. There are too many dud seasons there with Vlad. I have to go with Rafi.
All right, we got 3 names left. Gunnar Henderson.
Oh, God, that's a tough one.
Because you obviously have to factor in a guy that plays the field, too, even though Henderson's not a great shortstop.
Yeah, at least he's willing to go out there for his team. Gunnar's 23 years old, going to be 24. I have to assume that this is just a slow start coming off the injury. I'll take Gunnar.
All right. Olsen.
Rafi.
And last but not least, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, this one, when you said we were going to do this, I thought he'd be on this. I have Tatis. It's you know what? It's funny. It's not as easy as I'm making it to sound. It is kind of a tough decision. They're similar in age, but I'm gonna go Tatis, a better all around player. Even though since the steroids, his numbers have dropped, it has to be Fernando Tatis.
All right, that does it for Devers. Who'd you rather then?
Which ones did you not agree with? I want to hear.
I'd take him over Bryce at this point, even though I'm a big Harper guy always too. Bryce is not having a great year for the Phillies.
Okay.
He hasn't been the best hitter. I'd take Pete also.
You would take Pete.
I would take Pete, but I understand why you wouldn't.
I feel like if I'm not taking Vladdy, like if I'm not taking Pete, I can't take Vladdy. Like even though
I think Pete's better than Vladdy though by a good margin right now.
Right now, yes, and I love Pete, and I hope this is more to come. But this is a contract aberration year, and I understand this is a 1 year kind of thing. You know, it's who would you want right now? Devers has still been one of the better hitters in the league since the slow start.
I'm also taking Devers over Gunnar, which is a tough one because of everything that goes into it.
I factored in age more than I probably should have, thinking this was just 1 year.
Gunner's just not having a good year.
He's not.
And he's only had the year last season. Devers has given you, 6 years now of really good offensive production.
Yeah. I have to have faith in Gunnar. I mean, he's on my fantasy team, but I have to have faith in Gunnar. I can't move him either.
Have to. It's on your fantasy team.
I have faith though that he's going to turn it around. I do.
All right, you want to do all-star ballots now?
Yeah.
This is big.
Should we go through who's leading? I'll pull that up.
Yeah, we can.
I will pull that up. Because it's fun.
I like doing the all-star stuff. This is a fun time of year.
Okay. In the American League, I'm going to give you the top 2 vote getters in each category. American League, Cal Riley and Alejandro Kirk at catcher. Paul Goldschmidt and Vlad Jr. at first. Second base, Gleyber Torres and Jackson Holiday. Third base, Jose Ramirez and Alex Bregman. Shortstop, Jacob Wilson and Bobby Witt. DH, Ryan O'Hearn and Ben Rice. That's obviously because you had Devers in there. He was the favorite, whatnot. And the 6 outfielders, Aaron Judge, Riley Green, Mike Trout, Stephen Kwan, Javi Baez, and Cody Bellinger. So let's do our AL ballot first.
All right. First base, I have Aranda. I've had him for a month. Aranda too.
I have Aranda as well. I don't think it's close. I think Aranda's, but he's unbelievable. And I got to saw him up close and personal this week. He was great.
It was close when the ballots first came out with Goldschmidt,
Yes.
but now Aranda's stayed on this track the last 3 weeks, and Goldschmidt is not.
No.
Second base, I Gleyber Torres.
Yeah, I had Torres for a while, and I'm switching to Brandon Lau. He had a good weekend. The numbers are very similar. He leads all second basemen in home runs and RBIs. I'm going to take Brandon Lau.
Third base, J-Rom is so easy.
Easy. Jose Ramirez, one of the best players in baseball. Done.
Shortstop, I think this week for the votes, Jacob Wilson's easy too. He's having such a great year.
Witt has been terrible. I have Witt. I'm going to keep it as Witt, but I see your point. The OPS is almost 100 points higher now.
Yeah, it is. And he's hitting 362. He still has that walk thing where he's not walking very often, but he's hitting very, very often. He's second best batting average in the league. So I like Wilson, but you know what? When you look through this sometimes, I do love to see the stars start the All-Star game.
Yep.
So Witt doesn't bother me because he is the best shortstop in baseball as far as our perception goes. But, Wilson probably deserves it. They're both going to get into the game.
Yeah.
So they'll both get the All-Star nod. Raleigh obviously is the catcher.
Yep, no doubt.
And my three outfielders, the outfielders in the AL are tough. We were talking about it right before the show, but you don't have that many guys after Judge that are just total stamps to be in there. I think Riley Green has to be. And I gave Buxton the third spot, but you can go a couple different directions.
Yeah, I have Judge and Green as well. Those are the two obvious ones. And then I went Stephen Kwan. He's hitting over 300. It's tough to find that third guy, so I just went with Kwan, and I think he's in the game right now anyway. Yeah,
Kwan would be, once again, if we're talking about our 9 favorite players in the AL and the 9 best players in the AL, Kwan would be one of mine. Brent Rooker is my DH because it would have been Devers. That was the easy one, but now in the NL, so I go Rooker.
Yep, and I went O'Hearn. He's having a great year, and I'd like to see that. It's a cool story.
The only reason I went Rooker is because he has so many more RBIs. He's like 15 more RBIs.
Okay.
But the numbers for O'Hearn are actually better in most other spots. NL, just a total. You want to go through the vote getters here because this is a totally different type of conversation than the AL.
So we've got Will Smith and Carson Kelly. Those are the catchers. And by the way, Francisco Alvarez is 125,000 votes away from being in this All-Star game. We need to do everything we can to not have him in the All-Star game. Do not vote for Francisco Alvarez. He does not deserve it. Anybody else, please, please, please. Okay, I just had to put that out there. First base, Freddie Freeman, and then Pete Alonso. Second base, Ketel Marte, Tommy Edman. Third base, Manny Machado, Max Muncy. Shortstop, Francisco Lindor, and then a very large gap, Mookie Betts. Shohei Ohtani, and then Rafi Devers, another big gap there. And then the outfielders, Pete Crow Armstrong, Kyle Tucker, Teoscar Hernandez, Mr. Juan Soto, Corbin Carroll, Ronald Acuna Jr. following in there at 6. Here we go. Let's see how we have this playing out.
First base, I'm going Freddie, but if you go Pete, there's no knock on that decision either. These are the 2 best first basemen in all of baseball, and there are 2 guys that if they ended up second or third in the MVP race, I'm not surprised by either of it.
Freddie's your guy. I went Pete. He's my guy. I think he's having the better year. I'm taking Pete at first.
Yeah, it was definitely tough. I love both players, but, Freddie's my guy. I know Pete's your guy, and that's probably where it went. Marte is my second baseman.
Yeah, I have Marte as well.
Third base, Machado.
Agreed, Machado.
Shortstop, Lindor is maybe the biggest layup in the NL.
100%. He's going to start the All-Star game for the first time as a Met. Pumped for that. Be in the All-Star game for the first time as a Met, which is insane. So that's cool. And now this is where we're going to have the disagreements because the infield's pretty easy. Now this is where we're going to have some disagreements.
Well, we got a catcher, Will Smith.
Oh, yeah, Will Smith, yes.
Let me just ask you before we get out of the infield a question that I wanted to ask during the Mets conversation. You look at Pete's numbers versus Lindor's numbers. Both are having great years. Both are incredible. I'm just curious, who do you view as a Mets fan as the guy who's the best player on the team?
I view Lindor. He's the better all-around player.
It's funny how that works because Pete's offensive numbers are top 3 or 4 in the league.
Yes, and his defense, besides being able to throw the ball to first base, or anywhere on the infield, has improved.
Dude, it's bad. It's a big problem.
So
throwing
bad.
to first and throwing home is
bad.
You got to close your eyes when he loads up.
Anybody, not even just him though, throwing the ball home. Like it's anybody throwing the ball home now. I like, oh no,
terrible.
But him to first is brutal.
Yeah, really bad. All right. The outfield, I have the pair of Cubs, PCA and Kyle Tucker. Your guy, PCA, is my first outfielder. And then James Wood, I had to put in the 3 spot. He's been great. He's actually been arguably better than PCA and Tucker.
You said you were going to put him in, which is funny, and then you switched up.
No, I said I was putting him in.
Oh, you did? I thought you said you weren't putting him in.
No, I said he was my guy. I thought about not putting him in. That's what I was saying, is I thought about I wasn't going to put him in before I put him in.
Okay, and I left the Cubbies off here. I went Corbin Carroll, James Wood, and my guy, Juan Soto, picking it up, deserving of an all-star appearance, starting in the all-star game. He will be there as a New York Metropolitan.
He's definitely going to make it.
He's going to make it, and he should start, because by the time we get there, the numbers are going to be better than most of the outfielders, and I can't wait.
I think he's definitely got a shot at being better than both Cubs outfielders by the deadline. You can make an argument he's been better than PCA.
Yes, 100%. Like the last 2 weeks, he's been so much better. He's the man. He's in. He's locked in.
The edge that PCA does have statistically that you don't see statistically is he is a better defender and he is a much better base runner.
Yeah, well, PCA swings the balls in the dirt. Juan Soto doesn't.
So obviously you're taking Pete Crow Armstrong so far this year, but you're not because you're you. And DH, wonder who this is, Shohei Ohtani. Yeah. But now it's actually relatively competitive because Devers is there, but still.
Yep, it'll be Ohtani. Congrats to Ohtani.
Yeah, last around the league convo, and then we'll wrap up here as we've crossed the hour. I'm just curious. We kind of talked about it a little bit. Where do you put the Giants in this National League with Devers? We haven't actually seen it in action yet, obviously, but
tonight he'll be starting.
Yep, tonight's the night. We saw we spoke about how they are legit contenders with Devers right now. We didn't think they were before. They needed this bat. They got this bat. They're 10 games over 500 without Rafi. They add him. They're only 2.5 games back of the Dodgers. First question, can they win this division?
I don't think they'll win the division. The Dodgers are just going to get healthy with their pitching staff at some point. Snell will be back. Glasnow will be back. Sasaki will be back. I don't think they're going to win the division. I think they can make it close. They're certainly ahead of the Padres right now, and I think will continue to be. But they're going to need to make some moves, and I think big moves if they want to seriously contend for this division.
All right, now rank them with the Dodgers, Padres, Mets, Phillies, Braves, and Cubs. Not Braves.
I'm not putting the Braves in.
Yeah, I don't know why. I was just reading through it, and the Braves.
You're used to it. You're used to it.
List, the Braves were in the middle of the Phillies and the Cubs, so I just read through it. But yeah, Dodgers, Padres, my D-backs, Mets, Phillies, Cubs.
Mets, Dodgers, Cubs. Phillies, Giants, D-backs. So I have the Giants 5.
But is Milwaukee better than Arizona, do you think? I know they have more wins.
No, Milwaukee's not better. I want to put the Giants over the Phillies. I really do. And I don't know what's stopping me, but I just can't do it.
It's tough.
I can't do it. I think I have too much respect for them. And it's funny because basically in this scenario, like the Giants didn't move. You know what I mean? Like the Giants, I still had them ahead of the Padres before this trade.
When you think about it, though, we would have ranked them 1 through 6 or 1 through 7 if you include the Brewers. And the gap between 3 and 4, where the Phillies and Giants are, would have been massive. Now the gap between the Phillies and Giants is
very close.
Small. And the Giants, if we are sitting here in October and I am saying the Giants are my favorite to win the World Series, I'm not surprised.
They're going to have a nice top 2 there at the top of that rotation with Webb and Ray. Webb's been great this year.
Yep.
And so has Robbie Ray. They're going to need another starter or two, and their bullpen's been really good. So, yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what the team can do.
San Fran's one of those franchises that I think baseball's a lot better when they're really good.
Nice jerseys, beautiful
Great
uniform.
Jerseys. My favorite park in the league to watch games.
Yep.
This is going to be big. This is going to be big for baseball. But
Can
the
we...
NL versus the AL is just, this is embarrassing.
Disgusting. Can we talk about like just the whole like situation with the Red Sox now for a second?
Yeah.
Like I read that story from June Lee in Yahoo Sports yesterday, our guy, and
friend of the show,
friend of the old show. And we interviewed him like 20 times. It was crazy.
He's a good guy.
We like some of those things that came out, like Devers being pissed off that Christian Campbell volunteered to play first base, or the fact that the front office has never been on the same page with the coaching staff and Alex Cora about playing younger guys, and Cora basically sitting the younger guys because he wants the veterans because they think they could win now. Like these stories coming out are insane about this once very, very proud franchise.
Yeah, and I made the video yesterday before I even knew any of this existed about how the Red Sox fell from grace and how they just, this ownership group and everything. I can't believe what we say about them now. It's the same guys that were the best owners in baseball for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And we say this now. It's just, it's mind-boggling that this is where they've gotten. But, you know, I keep thinking back to something that Jack said on Sunday night. And I think there was partially some truth to it, but I completely disagree with him to this moment about the relationship between Cora and Devers being a good one. And I think if it was good, there's two different angles I'd take here. You have a situation where the coach has more power in roster construction than the general manager, which isn't totally unheard of. And if the coach liked Devers and they still traded him, that's a huge problem if that's how their power structure worked. Or your coach, who's supposed to be a player's coach, couldn't get along with one of the 10 or 15 best players in the league to a point where you had to trade him in the third year of a 10-year contract. So either way, it's not good.
Right, and I agreed with you that the relationship had faltered. It was not a good relationship when they traded him. So I don't think it was that. Like, I don't think it was some sign of disrespect. I think at the end of the day, when you make a move like that, Breslow and Cora, while they may not see eye to eye on the direction of the franchise at this very moment, which is 100% true, I think they had to have seen eye to eye on something like that.
Yeah, I agree with that. Absolutely.
This is not the Nico Harrison, Jason Kidd, where Jason Kidd has absolutely no clue. And like, I think Cora had an idea. And it's funny, Cora knew right after the game that that this was happening.
He did.
And they got on a bus and went to the charter plane to go to Seattle.
Yeah, it's weird.
Devers had to come back because Devers got on the bus.
He got on the plane.
He got on the plane.
It's weird that he was even allowed to get on the plane. Why are we not telling him before that, like, hey, it's going to happen? Because Breslow knows that morning that it's probably going to happen.
You think he does? You think?
I think he does. I think
Kyle Harrison's about to start in the game. He's warming up in the pen. I don't know if they knew it was happening that night.
I think it's at least going to happen in the next 48 hours. Like, you got to be really hot on that front for that to start unraveling. And then for Devers, there's no way 45 minutes before he got on that plane that Breslow didn't know something was about to go down. There's no way.
Right after the game, they are probably waiting in Cora's office telling him, hey, this is going to happen.
Unless the plane is the moment, because I don't know the exact timeline, but unless the plane is like an hour before Passan's tweet or whoever broke it, because Passan wasn't first.
Robert Murray, yeah.
Yeah, Robert Murray broke it. But unless the plane instance was an hour before that, And that's when Breslow started to figure out, like, this is going to happen. We got to get him off the plane.
I don't know. I think Cora had to have known
I think
right
he did,
when
though. I
they
think
got
you're
off
right.
the field.
Also,
Hey, we're trading him.
when we're talking about the Red Sox and when I'm reading all of this and I'm listening to all these press conferences and everything, and the Breslow Zoom that he did either this morning or last night, I could not have less faith in an executive than Craig Breslow right now.
No, I don't either. Like, I sort of understand. Like, I get the move. Like, I don't think I would have done this trade. But when you talk about the fact that they offloaded $250 million now, and not that they're this poverty franchise, because they're not. They have so much money. But with the way they've spent the past few years, it's very interesting that this is now a weapon for them. Because if you are able to allocate those funds correctly, and you do have Bregman come back, this is part of the, like, when you look at the trade, and it's like they got Kyle Harrison, Jordan Hicks, 2 prospects, and they let go. Like, part of the trade is the fact that they no longer have to pay this guy.
Yeah.
And that is not talked about enough.
I also think when you look at that money, first of all, they have to spend it.
Right.
I'm not convinced they'll spend it yet. But I don't think they can spend it on one player either, because the best case scenario on spending it on one player is you get a bat as good as Devers.
Yeah.
So you have to spend it on 3 or 4 guys or 2 or 3 guys. And you have to hope that Anthony and Meyer become, and maybe Campbell too, become really great. 2 of them become great players and one of them becomes a good player.
Campbell feels like he's going to be like the solid 750, 760 OPS
Campbell
guy,
feels like we're getting to a point where because even though he had a bad month of May, you can rely on him going forward to be a good player.
Mayer and Anthony have to be those superstar guys.
You need them to be.
Yeah.
One of them has to be Devers. And then the other one has to be pretty darn close.
Xander.
Yeah. Xander.
And then go get your Mookie. And then there we go.
It is insane, though, that no one's left from that team. Because that team has, 5 Hall of Famers on it.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Sale wasn't going to still be around. But not getting it done with Mookie is the biggest problem. He should have been a Red Sox for life.
Yep.
And then this Devers thing, just the fact that it didn't work out in the way it went down, it feels like at the end of the day just malpractice by an organization.
Betts not being here would still sicken me.
Yeah, no, that's the worst one because he's got 2 World Series rings with the Dodgers. He's been just a consummate professional on and off the field his whole career.
Yep.
But Devers too, from his angle, I don't know how much legacy matters to him. I don't think much, but you got the contract from the Red Sox. You have the World Series with the Red Sox. You hit great in that park. The fans loved you. You killed the Yankees, which is the number one greatest thing you can do as a Red Sox.
Yep.
And you ruined it. He played a role in ruining this for himself because he would have stayed in the Red Sox uniform for his entire career and probably hit more home runs in Boston than David Ortiz.
Yeah, it would have been a Hall of Famer, number retired, and instead he's headed to San Francisco. So,
yeah, I think partially he ruined some of this for himself, but he does go to a good organization in San Francisco that's really trying to win also. So there's a legacy to be built there too, but his legacy as a Red Sox, I don't think will be looked at fondly.
No, because the ending was just the way it ended was just way too poor.
I think Betts and Bogarts both have far greater legacies.
I don't know about Bogarts. I don't know about Bogarts.
I think Bogarts will because he has the 2 World Series rings. He was on the roster for both in 13 and 17 or 13 and 18. And he was just a fun homegrown guy when he first came up, as was Devers, but Bogarts was a part of that resurgence with Ortiz. Not that they ever got bad, but that return to contender status that I don't think Devers was totally a part of yet. But I think Xander will play in the long run. Not that he had a better career statistically or anything. I think that he will be looked at in a better light than Red Sox fans will look at Raffy because of what Devers or how he conducted himself the last 5 months.
Devers this year would have 17 home runs in San Francisco as compared to 15 right now that he has.
That's incredible.
So, but in his career, he would have 21 home runs less.
Okay.
If he played his whole career in San Francisco. So,
and San Fran's been waiting for a lefty to really step in for a while now and be able to just feast that right field line and give the fans a show. So
they're going to break that stretch of no 30 home run hitters.
Yeah, they should. If they don't, something went terribly wrong this year.
Something went terribly wrong.
All right, wrap it up.
Yep. We're
good.
At
episode 57, Yankees and Mets low points. Next time we talk, both teams will be better for sure, right? Have to be. Absolutely have to be. There's no way that they're still bad.
It's a nervous laugh.
Yeah, big games tonight for both squads. Yankees need to get back on track if they're losing 4 straight, and the Mets need to win in Atlanta, where we've had some bad memories the last few years, the last decade.
Not last year. Not last year.
Last year, great times. And this is a chance for the Mets to bury Atlanta, where, right now they're 8 games under 500. It feels like they're buried, but they're not. This is a chance to really do some damage and win a series in Atlanta and kind of end their season and their morale. So hopefully the Mets do it. We'll get some answers on Peterson and Schwellenbach tonight. We appreciate you listening. Make sure to check out everything BTO Media. Mic'd Up starting soon. That's Mike's podcast. You check out mine, The Bunker, No Good Takes with Giuseppe Alveri. Stanley Cup potential final game of the hockey season is tonight. So
Oilers tonight, baby. Let's go.
Everything you need to know, Giuseppe will bring you. And you can check out the playbook with Gabe, always the best New York sports content. Thanks for listening. We'll see you in the next one.